Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. You're probably wondering who's this person on the video screen. My name's Pam Schott. I am an executive MBA 2014 graduate from Ivey Business School and also the Global Ivey Day chair of the Ivey Alumni Network. So it is a pleasure to have you all with us today as we celebrate the 16th year of Global Ivey Day, and I'll get into that a little bit in a second. What I just want to start with is, as we come together, I want to be acknowledging that here in London, Ontario, where you are gathered, we are on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenape, well, that's a mouthful, and Shawneetown nations. We are grateful for the opportunity to work and learn on these lands. And for those joining us virtually or in person from other locations, I invite you to take a moment to recognize and reflect on the Indigenous land you are on and to join us in honoring Indigenous communities past, present, and future. I want to thank you for including me today and personally coming out to celebrate. I've been involved with the Ivey Alumni Network for a couple of years now because I felt it was really important to stay connected with the school that I took so much away from when I was in the program. And so while Global Ivey Day traditionally is held and the main activities and celebrations will happen tomorrow, we're very glad that you're here with us today to kick it off a day early. So thank you for that. What is Global Ivey Day? Global Ivey Day is an annual event that began back in 2010. And it was really a way for us to highlight the compelling community that we have here at Ivey, and to honor the relationships that we have made, and want to maintain throughout our lives since graduating. It truly is a network of 20, 30,000 individuals that you can tap into at any time across your educational journey, your career journey, and even in your personal lives. So since 2010, we've had more than 12,000 alumni that have come together to celebrate Global Ivey Day. And this is from across the world, from everywhere from Australia, India, England, across the United States, and right here in Canada. Those are just a few that I'll mention of the many that are happening this week. What's new this year, and why we're so pleased to have all of you, is that it's the first time in our 16-year history where we're welcoming some of our current students studying at Ivey and really kind of providing this introduction to Global Ivey Day across our young, current, and future alumni base. So welcome to all of you that are joining us in person today. We're thrilled to have you as we kick off Global Ivey Day celebrations. I will tell you on a personal note, I have two daughters. They're actually both at Western, not in Ivey, but at Western. So hopefully Ivey will come. I recognize the significant amount of work that you are doing, the focus you put in every day, and the impact that you are having right now in your classrooms and will make in the world. So thank you for joining our event, and welcome to the Alumni Network. I also want to provide a big thanks to the Ivey Career Management team and the alumni joining us on the panel today. Thank you for sharing your insights and perspectives on your own career journeys. I'm sure it will be a very impactful discussion. So on behalf of the Ivey Alumni Network, I want to thank you for being here. Happy Global Ivey Day. And I will now turn it over to Alex from Career Management Team, our moderator for the session, who will introduce you to our panel of alumni. Thank you and enjoy the day.
Awesome. Thank you, Pam.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Pam. So I'm Alex Elias. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a manager at Career Management, work mostly with the MBA students, and so excited to be chatting with all of you today and talking to our three panelists, all Ivey alumni, who have had very different career paths and amazing stories. And so welcome to our panel today. That's going to be all about career success and what elevating your career looks like. And so before we get into our questions, let's meet our panelists. So I want to introduce Michael Freddie Pope, HBA 2007, who's a real estate broker with Coldwell Banker. Let's give a round of applause for Freddie. Thanks for being here, Freddie. Nisa Zaran, who's a EMBA 2018 graduate and a research director, new research director. Is that I'm allowed to call you a new research director? Meaning recently a research director at Infotech. Welcome, Nisa, to the panel. And we have Tessa Weiner, who you may have seen around the Ivey building. Tessa's an HBA 2015 grad, an MBA 2019 grad, and the current director of educational technology, EdTech, right here at Ivey. So welcome to Tessa for joining us today. Awesome. Thanks to everyone joining us online. And in about 30 minutes from now, we're going to have some Q&A for our panelists. So if you have any questions, whether you're in person, we'll pass a microphone around. You can come to the mic at the front here, or online. Please enter them in the Q&A. We have Aaron monitoring the chat. So happy to take all of your questions for any or all of our panelists. To get started, I think the best question I can ask to all three of you is, how do you describe to your friends what you do for work?
Oh, I've been doing it a lot recently, so maybe I'll start. Right now I get paid to think and write, which is the greatest job I've ever had in my life. Research director in data and analytics, a long career in the business side and the technology side, always trying to figure out how you use data to actually drive value. So I read things, and then I think about them, and I talk to people, and we use that to give advice to leaders across North America and internationally.
Awesome.
You guys hear me okay? Yeah, I know it sounds kind of corny, but I actually feel like everything I do in a day is not work. I feel like I get paid to hang out with my friends and provide value through buying and selling houses. So it doesn't feel like work, which is why I like it. But yeah, that's probably the best way to describe it.
Awesome.
And I'll describe my job as we design online learning experiences for the students here at Ivey and external students as well. More recently now with the Ivey Online initiative, I'm spending a lot more time understanding AI, how we can better integrate it into our course structure, how do we use it in our day-to-day lives. I even recently discovered that you can make fun AI songs for your friends, customized. So it's really amazing what AI can all do. So really cool opportunity in that. Thanks so much.
Awesome, thank you. It's always a great way to think about how we do our work is how we would talk about our work to someone who doesn't understand it. But we're going to talk about your current work, and also reflect on the past and where you've come from. So Tessa, maybe I'll start with you, and then we'll kind of go down the line here. I'd love to hear about if you're reflecting back to the time where you finished Ivey, finished your program, whether it's your MBA, your EMBA, your HBA. What's kind of a piece of advice that you would give back to yourself at that time, considering how your career has gone since graduation?
A good question. HBA me and MBA me were different humans, so I'm going to take the MBA route because that's the audience that we're speaking to. Throughout my MBA, I actually got a really great opportunity to work with the faculty director at the time, David Wood, in developing the very first online courses that Ivey had. And throughout that time, really the one key piece of advice I would take is take any opportunity that comes your way. It was a part-time contract that he had that I was doing on top of the MBA, and it just kind of fell into, hey, I actually really, really enjoyed this. So if you see something, it may not be perfect to the T, it may not have the best job description you've ever seen in your life, but sometimes those little kind of side quests or side projects may turn out to be definitely, for me, one of the best decisions I ever made in my life.
Awesome, thanks Tessa. Nisa?
Yeah, that's such good advice, Tessa. And I think kind of at the beginning of the career, saying yes as often as possible. And then as you change, you start saying no more strategically and in smarter ways. But don't turn down opportunities too soon because you also are trying to discover your specific strength relative to others and what is your unique value. And the more experimentation you're able to do live, the better positioned you are to make the right long-term decisions.
Yeah, playing to your strengths is something we focus on a lot here at Ivey and helping our students and our alumni figure out, the best way that they can leverage their skills with their future. For anybody but you, is there a piece of advice you give back to your 2007 HBA self?
Yeah, I think so. I remember coming out, it's very competitive, obviously, Ivey, and I remember coming out with a lot of anxiety. I guess the one thing I would say is take a breath. I mean, what you do in the next 10 minutes, isn't going to define the rest of your life. So I know that's hard to hear, and I know you guys have a big report coming up probably in an hour, and everybody's probably a little anxious. But the one thing I would learn, or I would probably tell myself is, it's going to be okay, and probably focus on something, do something that you want to do and like to do. Obviously, you have to work hard and whatnot, but I think you have a lot of pressure, whether at Ivey or from home, to fall under a certain stream of whether you're going consulting or finance. But for me personally, I think maybe just taking a step back, taking a breath, and finding something that I actually like doing day in and day out. So
awesome, great. Yes, to all of our MBAs in the audience today, when Freddie was in HBA, he had to do 48-hour reports. So it may seem like it's more fun than 24 hours, but I think it's twice as painful. Yeah, yeah. Awesome. I want to speak to some specific career moments that maybe each of you had throughout your careers so far. Nisa, maybe I'll start with you because you recently made a transition from Trudell Medical into Infotech.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious about how, like early on in your career, how did you go about building the skill set that would transform technology and strategy and healthcare as you went about like developing your own skill set in your career?
Yeah, I don't know if I did it consciously, especially early in the career, and kind of back to what Tessa and Freddie are saying, you know, saying yes to as many opportunities as possible and really figuring out what drives you, what you get energy from, and what you're good at. So I think it took a number of years for me to realize what I had been doing and the skills that I had been building. But it was always about figuring out what makes a difference to whoever your customer happens to be. And you know, I started my career in technology, so the customer was always the people in the business. And having a lot of true empathy to what that customer is and what they're trying to do. The more you understand other people, the better you're going to be at kind of your own job. And it so happens that skill set is, you know, happens to be data and analytics, and you don't always know that early in your career. You might think you're great at one thing, and turns out you're amazing at something a little different.
Sounds like curiosity and empathy played a role there for sure. We don't often hear like empathy in the same framework as like data analytics, so I'm happy to hear that like those two things found a synergy for you. That's awesome. Freddie, I might go to you now. Before you jumped into the real estate game, you were at PwC as an accountant. What gave you kind of the confidence, or maybe even like the risk tolerance, maybe let's say, to make that big of a pivot or kind of that leap into a different area for you, and from a big firm to an entrepreneurial kind of endeavor?
Yeah, like I think it didn't happen overnight. Like it was 5 years of doing auditing at a Big Four accounting firm. That pretty much gives you all the confidence, or you know, it gives you the answers pretty quickly. But no, I think you just have a lot of self-belief, and like I knew I was a good worker, a hard worker, but you know, coming out of school, I did the program here. I jumped right into accounting, and ultimately I didn't like what I was doing every day. I dreaded going to work. I wasn't happy, had a lot of anxiety. So I really kind of decided, you know, over the course of my last year at PwC, you know, what is it that makes me tick? And really it was people. I like hanging around people. I don't like sitting in audit rooms in front of laptops. And not that that's a bad thing. It just wasn't for me. So I guess that's what drove me. And you know, I had a lot of people telling me it was a crazy idea, because not a lot of people leave a comfortable, well-paying job to go into you know, a world where there's no steady paycheck, and you know, you're working. I remember working my first day in real estate with a guy I went to high school with, and he didn't go to college, university, and we were kind of all in the same place. In fact, he was about 2 years ahead of me. So it was a lot of work and money to put in to kind of trade that off. But no, it was just self-belief and just recognizing that what I was doing was not what I ultimately wanted to do, and that was be around people and work with people. So
I think it takes like a lot of confidence just to even be that self-reflective and say, you know, what do I actually enjoy doing every day and what does drive me? And so, yeah, kudos to you for taking that time and then making that jump. That's fantastic. Tessa, when I was doing my research on you, I think I have this right, but was there a time where you were balancing like entrepreneurship yourself as well as teaching and academics as well as like a corporate environment? Yeah, all three of those things. Yeah, just everything all at once.
Apparently, I thought I had a lot of free time at one point.
Yeah. How did you do that, first of all? But second of all, how do you think like blending those things together and taking on a lot of different opportunities help shape kind of your career trajectory or career growth?
So the best thing about my role currently now is that I got the big opportunity to actually develop the department that I lead now here at Ivey. I was the very first one to do that, and having some entrepreneurial experience, having some experience actually teaching as well too, really gave me that foundation. How do you balance it all out? You got to have a little tinge of crazy in you. I'm not going to lie. You do actually have to have a little tinge of crazy, but calendar blocking, I do that to this day now as well too, is really thinking about what am I going to do today? What are my top 3 things that I'm going to get done this week? How do I make sure that I achieve those goals? So I'm very much a priority focused human where these are the 3 things that I'm going to get done this week. Nothing else matters unless it actually is a priority. So it is really important when you're going through, you're actually really, really critical about what do I need to get done and sticking to that. And that's just helpful in life in general. When you're working or you have different goals, you're trying to start your own business, really being intentional with your time is probably the number 1 key piece, but that's just from my perspective.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about kind of to pull on what Freddie mentioned earlier about like making that pivot or taking that jump. You know, all of us throughout our careers have moments where we need to make a pivot or a change or take a risk. So I'd love to hear about a time where each of you took like a professional risk, and whether that was a challenge you took on, a pivot you made, and what you learned from that experience. And happy to hear about any of your professional experiences that you could draw from.
I can go a little bit off, but I've already talked about the pivot from accounting to real estate. I also bought a few Dairy Queen franchises, so that was something that I kind of dove into as I was working at PwC. So once again, I think that was the entrepreneurial spirit in me trying to get out. But things I learned is don't buy an ice cream store when it's winter 8 months of the year. Not a great idea. But no, just I think it goes back to the last thing, like believing in yourself. And if I talk about when I went from accounting to real estate, a lot of people doubted the fact that I could make that jump or just questioned it. And I think at the end of the day, using the skills I learned here at Ivey and at my time in accounting, like it wasn't a waste of time. I just looked at it as how can I take those and then be the best realtor I can be. And it took a few years to kind of I was almost in a way embarrassed to say I was a realtor, especially at the start, and that wasn't a good thing. I was kind of a silent realtor. When people asked me what I did, I would say I was a realtor, but also I'm an Ivey grad. But then I just started embracing it and realized that don't shun away from those things that you did in the past. Use those tools and really dive in like 100% into the new thing. So I guess what I would say is if you're going to make that transition, do it 100%. Don't be embarrassed or scared about your new profession. It just go in it with total confidence. So
yeah, I like that commitment. Freddie, I have a quick follow-up for you. What's the most surprising thing about owning a Dairy Queen franchise that you don't know besides opening it in Canada? And
the surprising thing was my business partner at the time. Like obviously sales are down in the winter, so then the summer came around. We were all very happy about that, and the first weekend was like 30 degrees. I looked at the sales tapes and they weren't much better than the winter, and I was like, "What the hell's going on here?" I thought we slammed. He goes, "Oh no, well, it's actually too hot. People stay inside or they go to the malls." And I'm like, so you're telling me we just bought a business that does bad in the winter, but also does bad when it's hot? So we got 8 days a year where we get to make some. So yeah, maybe do a little research before purchasing a AAA franchise. But yeah, those are no longer with me. So
yes, seasonality, everyone. Seasonality is an important.
Don't buy a seasonal.
Important
business.
when you're doing your SWOT analysis for sure. Yes, thanks, Freddie. Nisa or Tessa, any particular career pivots or moments that you want to share learning from?
I've done a lot of them, and I think big lessons from them is when you go all in into something, you have to not be afraid of failure, and you have to sometimes be transparent about your failure as part of your growth and as part of helping you improve your decisions. When you do fail, there are consequences, and you learn from those. So don't not do things because it might not go well, because that makes you exponentially better at making decisions moving forward.
Yeah. What's what do you think that failure can help like shape you as a future leader or a future decision maker as you grow in your career? Like, how does failure actually become an asset, I guess, or that experience of failure kind of earlier on in your career?
I think it stays with you for really long periods of time, so you reflect on it differently as each set of years goes by. The way you analyze what happened, 2 months ago versus, how you might analyze it 2, 3, 4 years from now, changes, and the insights that you get from it change. So continue to revisit those moments and reanalyze those moments with what you know now. Yeah, they're long-term assets. Failure, they just become more valuable the longer they sit with you.
I like that. It's a good option to hold on to. Hold on to those failures. Yeah, fantastic. Tessa, is there something you want to share?
Sure. I would basically just kind of summarize down to challenges are like little practice runs for yourself each and every time. And you're kind of building your book, you're thinking about that. But the key takeaway I would always say is when you're faced with a challenge, the big reason about why I work at Ivey in particular is we have an incredible set of leaders here that I know I can rely on, and really strong leaders who help me navigate through a lot of these challenges that I can talk to. And one of the biggest pieces of advice I give to people who I'm doing coffee chats with or interested in breaking into any sort of industry is, I know the cultural question is never the best question to ask, but ask about who your leader is and how do they like to mentor you and work with you. Because if that is really what's going to resonate with you, it was huge for me. Somebody gave me that piece of advice prior to starting here, and my leader at the time, it's probably one of the most incredible people I've ever met. I hope to aspire to be her one day. That was really, she gave me the flexibility to take challenges, to take risks. But if you don't have that good support system, those failures and those challenges are really tough. So make sure when you're looking for a career, ask about who your leader is. Ask about how do they like to lead you? How do they like to manage? Because if that doesn't jive with yourself, you may feel really stunted in your opportunities. So different spin.
Yeah, absolutely. It's never a bad thing to find out who our leaders are, because they can be the ones that shape us in our future growth. I'm sure we've all had great leaders in our past, and ones maybe that haven't been as helpful, maybe, let's put it that way. I want to talk a little bit more about like your current work and the current challenges that you're working on. So I came up with my own, but I'd rather hear from you. Tessa, you mentioned like Ivey Online as being kind of the next big thing. Ivey just released kind of our new bold ambition strat plan, which includes lots of kind of advancement in that space, the ed tech space, the experiential space online. What are some of the challenges that you're really looking forward to helping be part of the solution for in your role?
Challenges are many with AI technology. Probably one of the biggest ones that I didn't realize I'd have to get into is actually privacy and data governance. Now that we're getting into an AI world, you really need to be mindful about how much actually can you put in. Even though a piece of technology may seem like the most efficient thing you've ever seen, can solve all your problems, you need to be incredibly mindful about that data and privacy. So that's probably one of the toughest things that we're overcoming is how do you balance out, like even think about yourselves. How many of you really want me to take your exams and plug them into a ChatGPT to give you feedback right away? How do you want that feedback to be received? So in order to be a part of that, we really need to think through how do the students want to have their feedback received? How do they want to be graded? What type of level of involvement should AI have in everybody's lives? And what's really fascinating is if I asked students 6 months ago, they have a very different opinion to what they have now because it's evolving so quickly. So while it's frustrating at times, it's probably one of the coolest and best awesome elements about my job right now is just getting to try out every new piece of AI technology that comes our way. Like I was using a no-code app builder yesterday night just to like build me a brand new like budgeting website, for example. So the worlds have changed, take advantage of that. And my last tip of advice is start learning AI and start learning the tools because we're incorporating it more and more and more. And if you're not versed into what's going on, you will be left behind. That's even when I'm looking for staff members to join our team, they actually get a test about some AI tools. So they have to be really on it now with understanding or knowing how to problem solve through it. So just some interesting tidbits there.
Awesome. Thanks, Tessa. It's so interesting to see how AI is going to shape all of our lives, but also education as well. Nisa, I imagine this is something that's on your radar a lot as well, being the kind of the emerging edge of analytics and data and things like that. So what are some of the challenges that you're kind of seeing or looking forward to helping be part of the solution of?
Yeah, I mean, the challenge we see most often is there's large investments in data and technology, and a lot of times there's not always a clear why. And people who own business functions like education are very, very clear on their why. And really trying to marry the people that have the technical skills to execute with the people that deeply, deeply understand the problem that they're trying to solve. That's kind of the biggest problem space that we work in right now. And it's actually just about building the relationships with people. The tools are never the problem. It's always kind of lack of communication. Yeah.
Yeah. Well said, right? Yeah. It doesn't matter whether we're on the leading edge of the tools and the technology. If we don't have the relationships behind them and the why is clear, then it's probably not going to lead to a fruitful relationship or a good solution. Yeah, thank you. Freddie, I think we can all probably understand that the housing market has been, I don't know, what's the right word? What are the word you, volatile? Let's use volatile. I was going to say up and down, which is I didn't go to Ivey, so that's my terminology for it. Volatile. How do you handle things like messaging and some of the challenges when there's a lot of things that are out of your control in terms of your work, I imagine?
Yeah, I think, you're always just going to be transparent with your clients, and obviously most of them understand what's going on in the world. We got tariffs, we got interest rate volatility. Rates last year were 6.5%, 7%. Now we're down to under 4%. This morning, I had a client rebuy the house that she sold 3 years ago. She sold it for $810. She rebought it for $695. For London, that's pretty significant. We have issues with rent control, with affordability of houses. We've got a lot of tenants that want to stay forever now. They don't treat tenancy like a short-term thing. You got a lot of landlords that want to evict them because they want market rents, so you got a lot of mess with that. But at the end of the day, you just have to be honest with your clients and understand, everybody thinks their house right now is probably worth what it was in 2022, so a lot of disappointing conversations for people in their living room, but ultimately, you have to provide value, and it doesn't help anybody if you throw an overpriced listing on the market and wait for it to come down. So yeah, like a lot of tough conversations, but ultimately London, I would say, if you compare it to cities like, I got a buddy right now selling in Hamilton, they're more directly impacted by tariffs with, amount of steel manufacturing jobs in there. But, London, the nice thing is it's diverse. We have a lot of industry. We got a couple hospitals, couple colleges. So, we don't see the highs like, the Toronto, Vancouver, some of those other centers, but we also don't see the dips. So we've actually been pretty steady. Our average sale price has pretty much remained true for the last 14 months. So as much as you read a lot about the volatility, it hasn't hit us as hard as a lot of other centers, but more therapy we're doing right now. So that's the better way to describe it.
Yeah, you can add that to your resume now, right? Under your job description. I like it. Awesome. I want to take a few questions shortly. So if you do have a question, if you're in the audience, you can kind of make your way up to the microphone at the front left of the stage and ask a question to one of our panelists if you want. If there's people who have questions online, feel free to pop them in the chat and Aaron will pass them along our way. But I want to ask one final question or one question before we get to the Q&A. And that is, early in your careers, there can often be a lot of unpredictability or maybe second guessing if you're in the right phase, or a lot of unknowns about the future of your career. So is there any kind of reflection you might have in how to stay grounded or how to stay connected to your career in a way that allows you to get through some of the uncertainty that might come up early on in your career? Go ahead, Freddie.
Yeah. You guys helped me out by going first last time. So I think for me, at least in the real estate side, would be trusting your systems. I think there's a lot of people that get into our industry, but I think the discipline that comes along with it, doing the things that maybe today don't drive sales, and you almost start getting frustrated because you're doing all these things and nothing's hitting, but then eventually you almost hit a tipping point where all those systems that you did early on in your career start paying off. You might not get the immediate gratification, but staying true to those systems, being disciplined, I think those are some skills that I think really helped with me early on. When I compare myself to maybe some of the other agents that were starting out, they might do something for a week and then, kind of fade off. So
Yeah, there's that quote, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Yeah, that's a favorite.
Nice.
I don't have any insights beyond
No, that was very
so-
pithy, though. That was perfect.
Plagiarizing.
I believe it was James Clear, I think. I think that's an Atomic
There we go.
Habits quote.
Yes.
There we go. Yeah,
Exciting.
I love it. Tessa, anything on your side? Dealing with uncertainty or early career uncertainty?
Honestly, just find a job that you're very excited to get up and do every day. If you genuinely don't enjoy it, change. You have to spend a lot of years of your life and a lot of time doing it. If you're not happy, an old boss of mine told me 60% of the time you should be happy, 40% of the time you're not going to love it. Yeah. It's kind of a good ratio to think about. But if you wake up like Freddie and say, I can't do this anymore, get out, do something different. It's well worth your time to do it.
Great advice.
yeah, and I was just going to add, and I think you're just better naturally at what you're going to do if you like it. I mean, I don't love every single day. I don't make it sound like it's, but I do enjoy going to work, and I think you're just naturally better at something that you like to do.
Awesome. I really appreciate you all sharing that feedback, and especially, I think it also instills in me trust in the Ivey brand. It's one thing to pivot if you don't feel like you have the skills or the foundation to kind of make those maneuvers, but I think what we see here by our 3 outstanding alumni is that that there's an opportunity to equip yourselves with skills that kind of transcend different paths and enable you to make those pivots or jumps or into something you love, which is awesome. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions from the audience? Or Aaron, do you have some questions for us? Awesome.
Everyone here? Okay. Ozan asks, how do each of you define career success?
I'm going to go back to what I just said, that you are very happy with what you're doing. You get up every day, you're excited to come in. I think for all of us, we've all found our niche into what we really enjoy. And maybe I'm speaking on your behalfs, but for me, that's what career success is that you genuinely enjoy what you're doing and you feel like that is what I should be doing. I'm so excited with what I do. So that would be the direction.
Yeah, I think if I was sitting in this room in 2007, I would probably say money. Today, that's not at all on the radar. I have 2 young girls, 2 and 5. I want to spend a lot of time with them. I want as much free time as I can in addition to my work. I've got a tea time at 3:30 today. So I would say the balance, when people say work-life balance, a lot of times it just gets thrown out willy-nilly, but I truly believe that is extremely important to myself, and also, of course, doing what you love. But I think just that having that time for the people that you care about, that's important to me.
Yeah, the image that came to my mind was yesterday I closed my computer and made dinner for my kids at 5:30, which, different parts of your career, you're not always able to do that kind of stuff, and just felt very grateful for being able to do that. Yeah.
I think those are such important messages, especially for people listening online or here who are going to be early on in their careers, that, for people who are, seasoned professionals, there's some real value about doing what's important to you, doing what you enjoy, and being there for your family and the other important parts of your life, like tea times as well. Yeah. Awesome. Aaron, any other questions?
I have one specifically for Tessa. What is the test that you use when hiring for AI, and what tools, as there are many out there, do you think are the best to learn now?
Ooh, good question. It is very industry specific. I'm going to start off with doing that. I highly recommend AI Rundown as a great kind of quick newsletter that you can get sent to your email. Kind of tells you the top AI tools that are going on, what's kind of going on in the industry. So if you're not following some of those, that would be my number one. The test that we do is more around, so we design courses, websites, things like that. So part of what I do is I ask them about what are some no-code AI technologies that they've recently researched into. Have they done any tests with them, and what would be their first 3 or 4 prompts in order to get it set up? But yeah, hopefully that answers their question.
Awesome. Anything else online, Aaron? Or
We have one for Freddie as well. It's what are your thoughts on rent control?
Is there a fault? Is there any? It's a broad one, but yeah, like I mean, I personally, I think the free market should probably determine what a good rent is. But I also see the reasons why it exists. Not everybody always follows the rules, and I've got a lot of clients who have rental properties that they don't do the most ethical things. So I get it exists for a reason. I personally have always just thought the free market should just dictate what a property's worth, but I do see situations where I can understand why it exists. So bit of a political answer there, but come talk to me after, whoever just asked that. We can get the real answer.
Yeah, get Freddie on LinkedIn and you can dig into it. Awesome. Great. Well, I have a few rapid fire questions and I really like it because now I get to ask my rapid fire questions, which sounds more daunting than it is. So just quick kind of what comes to top of mind, like one sentence answers. What is one skill that every future leader should prioritize? And I'm going to say beyond AI, because I think AI is a clear winner for that category. One skill that every future leader should prioritize.
Empathy and relationship building. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I'd say like communication as well. Like, I mean, we live in a digital world now and there's probably 90% of your people here are on your phones right now. So I would say like just getting in front of people as opposed to not, just texting all the time. I know it's a little old school, but I think it's still a relationship world that we live in. And whether you're in sales or not, most people are selling something. So having a personality and getting in front of people is important as well.
Awesome. Yeah, well said. Okay. What's one career myth that you wish young professionals would stop believing?
Money equals happiness.
Okay, that's a good one.
Money equals happiness.
Okay, great. We 3 for 3. Is there something like a skill that you can think back to your time at Ivey specifically that you either like learned at Ivey or honed through your time at Ivey that's really still played like an important role in your life today?
Yeah, I think for me, just like thinking on the spot, like there's a lot of times where you're presenting in a room that's uncomfortable and those team projects that you guys do, all that stuff, even though at the time you don't realize it. But now I go, when I was in accounting, I would go sit at a CFO's desk, or if I'm sitting in a family's living room or kitchen, like, I'm very much more comfortable. And I think those skills that I learned here probably have translated into what I do now.
I would say brevity and being comfortable telling people what your actual recommendation is. We had one prof that if we spent too much time explaining what our logic was, he would give us a really bad mark. He said, I hired you to tell me what to do, not to tell me how you thought about it. So brevity is...
I see some chuckles. I feel like this is happening live in this room. How do you feel like, so I'm gonna ask a quick follow-up. How do you feel like that helps you in your current role?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically my current role right now. I think it reminds me that we need to use other people's time effectively, and that they have a level of trust in you, so tell them what you think you should be doing and use their time wisely and effectively, and don't put them through the burden that you had to get to those conclusions.
Yeah, well said. Especially it feels like now where everyone's time is very valuable and also pulled in a lot of directions. So, yeah. Well said. Yeah. Tessa?
Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Kind of similar idea to Freddie in that sense. Like when you're in a networking session, try to find the person who's standing off to the side, chat with them, just that's kind of a key piece. And then when you're in the networking sessions as well, ask actual thoughtful questions. Sometimes I hear the weirdest questions of these networking ones are very surface level, like you've read their website and you're repeating that, or you ask them a question, they're a consultant, but you're asking them about a different consulting stream. They're never gonna know that answer. So just like ask a really thoughtful and mindful question. So be intentional and then be comfortable with being uncomfortable. It helps a lot in a lot of situations just to be okay with, I'm a new person in this room. Hello, everyone. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm smiling because, especially for the folks in the room today, our MBA 2026s are about to go to a big networking event with a lot of MBA alumni on Friday called Get Connected, and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, being brief and concise and accurate with our feedback, and being able to think on the spot are all skills that are gonna treat you very, very well on Friday as well. And so I think that's a perfect place to end it. Thank you so much to all of our people online for your questions. Thanks to everyone in the room, and thanks to our panelists for coming today. Freddie, Lisa, Tessa, thank you so much for sharing your insight today. Awesome. We're gonna wrap up just with some closing remarks from another alumni, Raj Patel. So Raj, come on up. Let's give Raj a warm welcome to end our day today.
Good afternoon, everyone. Like Alex said, my name is Raj. I am a graduate from the MSc in International Business cohort in 2023, which feels like it was just yesterday, but we're coming up to 2 years now. Thanks again for having me join you guys today as a member of the local London alumni chapter. Can we just get another round of applause for the panelists here and the discussion that we've had today? It was phenomenal. Thank you again, guys. Thank you. Thanks so much, Freddie, Nisa, and Tessa for your insights. It just shows that there is never really a status quo when you're going down your career path, and it's always going to be different. Freddie, unfortunately, I don't have a tea time at 3:30, but I am going to be hitting up a Dairy Queen after this now. So, I'd also like to just say thank you to the students and faculty members that are here today. 24-hour cases, 48-hour cases can be very hectic. They can be very chaotic, but enjoy the chaos, enjoy the hecticness. You'll get through it. It always works out, type of a deal. But also thank you to the staff for planning today's events to celebrate Global Ivey Day here today. As Pam said, this is our 16th Global Ivey Day, a celebration that's been going on globally within the entire Ivey community since its formation. So, thank you again for being here and celebrating. We hope you can participate in many other Global Ivey events this year as we continue to celebrate these throughout the years. I can tell you the bonds that I've made with my fellow classmates, my cohort, my professors have been some of the strongest relationships that I've been able to develop, and I'm very, very privileged to call them close friends now. And I always look forward to Global Ivey Day and connecting with new individuals as well. So thanks again. Now, before I wrap up here, I just want to give a quick token of our appreciation to the panelists, just to say thank you. So just on behalf of the London Alumni Chapter, I just want to say thank you again. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you for celebrating, and I hope everyone enjoys their Global Ivey Day. Thank you.
If you didn't make your way into the Brock beforehand, there are cupcakes for Global Ivey Day in there, so make sure you grab one. I think there's lots to go around. Yeah.
Awesome. Good luck on your report, guys.
Good luck.
Thank you.